We're going to start a gewaldige sugya based on some of the shailas that people are asking in this series. Baruch Hashem, getting some great feedback from some of the olim. This shaila is actually asked by one of our heilige talmidim that is still a talmid of the yeshiva, just happens to be in America working, and he said in this shaila specifically. There was another yid also that mentioned you in the email, Epesasavitz or something. Very good. Regards, Nasameya, Shimon. Okay. Baruch Hashem, he said to me, why do yeshivas not learn these things? And all of a sudden when you go to work, you have to know all these things. And Achanami, I said, what do you want from me? I can't change the world. But at least we're changing over here, that you guys, at least the guys that don't get brainwashed to stay in learning forever, go to work, and at least you know the halachas. Be'ez Hashem. So today's shaila, it was brought by one of the guys, and the shaila goes like this. A very interesting shaila, a very nageya shaila. It has various forms of being nageya. So we'll try to, as we normally do, try to do a little bit of an introduction today, so the olam understands where it comes from, what it applies to, and that Be'ez Hashem tomorrow, B'siyata Dishmaya, we'll try to go through the specific details. But just to give you the shaila that was asked to me was like this. He asked me, this is a very common shaila, I didn't realize it was so common. I speak to a bunch of people about some of the shailas that we're going to discuss and share, some of the opinions that they have, different things that different people do. And when I mentioned this, this is a big shaila. I didn't even realize this was such a big shaila. What's the shaila? Very simple Indian, very simple shaila. This guy has a business and he wants to know, can he order non-kosher food for his goyish workers? These are not Jewish people. They're allowed to eat treif, right? Am I allowed, as the owner of the company or someone working for the company, which we'll get to also, to order non-kosher food for non-Jewish workers? Now, by the way, this has many different forms. For example, a person that has investments or stocks in a company that deals with non-kosher food, also very, very common shaila. Dealing with non-kosher food, as we'll see in a moment. So there's a lot of different shailas that we have to get to. Let's start like this. Number one, a lot of people think there should be no problem. You ask anyone on the bat, is there a problem? And he said, I don't understand. The guy's a goy. He's allowed to eat whatever he wants. What's the problem? So you're going to tell me, 1 minute, there's a Halacha in Orach Chaim, Semen Shin Zayin, that says there's Amir La'akum, talking over there about Amir La'akum. Amir La'akum is even on a yid telling a goy to eat Basar V'cholav. Also steht bei Halacha, the Heilige Chofetz Chaim brings it in Orach Chaim, Semen Shin Zayin. But Al Kaponim, that's talking about Basar V'cholav. So in Achanami, in a simple situation, people have to know, to go and serve or order or allow a goy to eat something is not so poshut, even if it's not kosher food and even if it's a goy. Now, what are the times that it could be problematic? Number one, dealing with an issa hana. For example, let's take a simple idea, basar v'cholav. To serve a goy basar v'cholav is good, or to order basar v'cholav, that could be an issa hana. There's a halacha that everyone here knows. The halacha is 3 times. One of the reasons why it said it 3 times in the Torah is the issa hana. That means a person cannot have hana from basar v'cholav. Taz, Yeridei, Simon Tzadi Dalet also goes through the whole sugya as well. Even if you give it to a guy that you don't know, give it to an animal, shayla in the zoo, not for different shaylas, not for now. But Okabonim, if we're dealing with an issa hana, Yain Nesach, by the way, we'll have to discuss wine. We haven't yet discussed in the series wine. Chometz on Pesach, big shayla. We'll try to get to it b'lineda before Pesach. Big shayla of allowing goyim to order, chometz in your office, in your factory, anything similar to that. Well, that's issa hana. So leave the issa hana to the side. Those halachas we just mentioned in a chanami, if it's issa hana, you're not allowed to have hana. You, the yid, is not allowed to have hana by serving it to the goy. Let's leave out basar v'cholav. It's not basar v'cholav. It's a piece of treif for meat. It's a piece of treif for meat. What's the problem? He's a goy. He's allowed to eat it. I didn't tell him to eat it. I'm not even Amir La'akum. I'm pushing ordering it for him. Or I'm allowing them to order it with a company credit card. What about that? What if the goy, I'm not ordering it for the goy. The goy in charge of all the goyim is going to order it with the credit card belonging to the business. The business will pay for it. And the goyim are going to eat it. What's the shaila? Okay, so issa hana we're not dealing with. The other exception to this rule is if you have a treif food that is not asa bahana, but there's a problem called an issa mischar. There's an issa to do business with treif food. We're not talking about issa hana. We're not talking about basar v'cholav. We're not talking about yain nesach. We're not talking chometz. We're talking about regular treif for food. There's an issa to do business with treif for food in that case. You can call it commercial activity, the issa mischar, and that is an issa. What is the issa over here? Is it a daraisa? Is it a drabonon? Is it a chumrah? What's the sugya over here that we're saying there's an issa to do business with treif for food? So according to most poskim, this is an issa da'oraisa, which means that we be'etzim don't even need a reason for it, because there's an issa da'oraisa. We're lucky that we have a shach and a taz in Yeridei Simon Kuf Yud Zayin, where the shach and the taz bring be'etzim two reasons. And by the way, the makor for a lot of this, if you're looking, it's the Gemara in Pesachim Daf Chav Gimel Amud Aleph. The Gemara in Pesachim Chav Gimel Amud Aleph is the makor for this. Shulchan Aruch Yeridei Simon Kuf Yud Zayin. Al Koponim says the shach and the taz, two reasons why there's an issa for a yid to do business with treif for food, even if goyim are going to eat it. Reason number one is if a yid is being oisik in business with treif for food, he may forget. He may come to eat it. And therefore we're worried, if he's going to be oisik in it, he's busy with it, therefore we're worried he's going to come to eat it. That's reason number one. Reason number two, that if yidden are busy with business of treif for foods and things like that, then other people are going to think, so it's mutter to eat it. If the yidden are busy with it, must be it's mutter to do, which we know is not true. So therefore, says the shach and the taz, there are two reasons why we forbid a yid to have any business activity with treif for food. Again, we have not yet answered the shayla that we started with, is if a company is allowed to order treif for food for his workers. That we'll get to. What is included and what is not included in this prohibition? So any non-kosher fish, any non-kosher fowl or insects are all included in the issa. Any animal that is not normally used for the food, like for example horses, donkeys and things like that, household pets are not included, and therefore a person can buy and sell those items. That's Yerushalmi in Masechta Shvius Perek Zayin Halacha Aleph, that's allowed. Any kosher animal that became treif or was not shechted is included in this issa. Non-kosher wine, which again is a whole sugya, which Be'ez Hashem will give a whole share on non-kosher wine, but non-kosher wine is included as well. People don't realize, by the way, people buy gifts for their goyish workers with non-kosher wine, saying, okay, I'm not going to drink it, it's okay, I know it's not kosher, I'm just going to give it to the goyim for the chagov, whatever it may be. I'm not saying I don't know, I have no idea. Till we get to Hilchos Yain Nesach, we have to discuss it, that's more to us. But Pashtas, it's included because it's Issa Hana. If it's Issa Hana, you can't have Hana by giving it to goyim for presents in that case. Any food that is manufactured, what's that?
Dog food.
Again?
Dog food, if it's not kosher.
If it's specifically for animals to eat, then it could be okay. That's a good question. Food manufactured. So that's a good one. Shlomi's bring up a case. If it's manufactured specifically for animal consumption, it's made for animals. They produce this, they manufacture this for animals in that case. There are those that are, it depends what it is, by the way. There are those that are machmeh, by the way, in that case that would say that it would be included, but it really depends on what it is and who it's for, and is it shayach to get ever to human consumption as well. So that's a bit of a complicated one. We're not discussing pets right now, but in Achanami, there are those who actually would say that would be a problem. Soap, skins, furs, all of these things are excluded from the issa that a person is allowed to have hana and do business with it. Okay, so now let's go to another shayla. Is a person allowed to work in a company, in a business that deals with non-kosher food? Okay, so I'm simply a worker in a company, I'm a worker in an office, in a warehouse, whatever it may be. Am I allowed to work in a company that deals with non-kosher food? So there are three shitas we have to know. Shita number one, and you can look this up in the Mishnah in Shvius Perek Zayin Halacha Gimel, with Mishnah Gimel, where the shita is that it's an issa, because it's an issa mischar, on even though, and this is a big chiddush, because even though the yid doesn't own the item, I'm not owning it, I'm simply working in the company. I'm simply stacking the shelves. I'm simply busy in the office. What do you want from me? According to this shita, even though there is no ownership on the yid side, since he's conducting business with it, that would be problematic. As I said, that's the Mishnah in Shvius. There's a Heilige Tshuva in the Beis Shloima, in Kuf Tzadi Beis. The Marashag in Chele Beis Simon Pei Aleph also asks it because of that shita. That's shita number one. Shita number two is that the only issa of working with non-kosher food is only by issa hana, and only on something where there's an issa that benefit from it. For example, easy example, basa v'cholav. But if it's a food that's not asa b'hana, there's no issa. Why? Because I'm not owning it. I'm simply working in the company. And by working in the company, I'm not owning it. If I'm not owning it, according to this shita, it's going to be mutter. As though is the shita of the Chazon Ish, in Shvius, Yud Zayin, Yud Gimel, Yud Zayin, the Darkei Tshuva, the Minkatsha, in Kuf Yud Zayin, in Yeridea, Sikot Nun brings many shitas to say that this shita, that if you're not owning it, and it's not Issa B'Hano, then it's going to be mutter. And then we have the third shita. The third shita is the shita of the Heilige Chassam Sofer. The Chassam Sofer holds there are two things that can trigger, you don't need both, one or the other, two things that can trigger an issa of an issa mischar, which is an issa of dealing with non-kosher food. Number one, the Chassam Sofer, is the ownership. If a yid owns it, which we'll have to discuss when I buy food for my workers in my office, who owns it? Me or the workers? That we'll get to. But upon him so far, the Chassam Sofer says, number one that can trigger the issa is ownership. If bailus, if the owner is a yid, that's going to be an issa. I don't care if it's osabano or not osabano, eating it, not eating it, serving it to go, it's irrelevant. A yid owns it, it's an issa miska, you can't do business. Number two, working with it. If a yid is working with non-kosher food, that is considered to be an issa in that case. Why? Because we're choishish when working with it. The Chassam Sofer says you may come to eat it. Now Reb Moshe has a tshuva in Yeridea Chelik Aleph, Simenon Aleph, and Reb Moshe says we paskin like this Chassam Sofer. This is the halacha lemaisa, as I state in Reb Moshe, which means according to that, one of two things could trigger the issa of issa mischar. Number one, the ownership of a yid. Number two, working with it. Okay. So, for example, when I received a phone call from a guy in Tel Aviv saying he works in a restaurant as a waiter, and they have an interesting special today, a special on the menu. Right? Sometimes in restaurants they have today's special. What was the special today? Basar para muvushal b'chalav. Right? Cow meat cooked in milk. You can't get more basar v'chalav than that, which agav would be another shani yodei simon peizayin. The guy by the hilchas hana shaboy. Is that considered to be hana when I'm a waiter in a restaurant or I'm getting paid to serve? Is that considered to be an issa hana? Number two, of course, shayla v'nifnei yiva, depending who's in the restaurant, of course, rachmana litzlan. But we're dealing with our shayla over here. Is that a shayla of issa miska in that case? According to the Chassam Sofer, it's going to be problematic, not because of the issa hana. Even if they don't cook it, will be a problem. Why? Because there's an issa called an issa mischar for a yid to be busy with and working with non-kosher food in that case, even though there's no ownership. He's not owning it. I'm the waiter. All I do is serve it. That will be problematic. Whereas, flip over the coin and go to an office, for example. If you go to an office and all I am is I'm working in the office, doing the filing, doing the picture, whatever I'm doing over there with the warehouse, filling shelves, whatever it may be, there's no ownership, but then I have a problem. According to that, maybe if I'm dealing with it, I'm touching it, I'm being oisig in it. If I'm simply working in an office, I don't even see the tray for food. Then according to that might even be good according to some sofer, because number one, I don't have ownership. And number two, I'm not being busy physically with the non-kosher food, and therefore there's no rashash. However, that being said, make sure to note, the Heilige Chassam Sofer brings down that even though there's no two reasons, lechatchila, you should still not do it in that case. And maybe we'll just end with one last thing. That if you have a company and you have partnerships with investments and stocks and all sorts of things with Goyish companies that sell Treif products, again, we're not dealing with basar v'chalav, we're talking about stam Treif in that case. So it depends how much of an ownership you have in that case. Reb Moshe has a beautiful, famous tshuva, Even Ezer Chelik Aleph Siman Zayin, where he says that if the investor has no say in the running of the company, if they're not calling you for meetings, so therefore you have a very small amount of stocks over there, we're not so worried that a person is over on any assumption. That could also apply to Shabbos, also apply to Chometz, and also apply to many other things. Tomorrow, Be'ez Hashem, we have to answer the shaila which you never answered. Is a Yiddish company allowed to order food for his Goyish workers that's not kosher? Join us, Be'ez Hashem, next time.